Barcelona have announced Hansi Flick as their new head coach. The club's current president, Joan Laporta, it's reported that he is 100% convinced by the former Germany boss.
When Flick joined Barcelona, the club was in a difficult spot. Despite winning La Liga the season before, club legend Xavi had been sacked.
Barcelona, we are hearing, have sacked Xavi.
The news was surprising, as earlier in the year, it was reported that Xavi was willing to stay.
Xavi reversed his decision to leave at the end of the season after talks with the board yesterday.
But his quote stating that Barcelona cannot compete with Real Madrid didn't sit well with upper management.
Is it really the case that what he came out to say and just speaking the reality of the future of the club is what has rubbed Laporta up the wrong way and put things right where they are now at Barcelona?
That's certainly the line that's being peddled by people close to the club.
Alex, considering all the news, all the rumblings that's been going on after he made that very honest press conference where he said basically we're a completely different level to Real Madrid, there was almost an inevitability about this.
Instead, Flick has come in with a new no-excuse mentality. He has hit the ground running, winning game after game as the German instilled his philosophy and playstyle quickly onto the team.
New guy comes in and everything he's doing is brilliant.
So what exactly has Flick done that has allowed him to get such better results despite working with the same players that Xavi had?
Mundo Deportivo party, what a party!
While Xavi didn't have the prettiest exit, we can't ignore the fact that he's laid the foundation for the success that we're seeing from Flick. Xavi came to Barca at a time where the club was at its lowest point. Barca were sitting in mid-table. They had lost the greatest player in their club's history for free and were financially in a terrible situation. But Xavi turned it around. They went on a 15-game unbeaten run and ended the season in second place despite being 9th when Xavi first took charge. The next season, Barca got even better. Lewandowski joined the club. Xavi began incorporating the youth into the squad with the likes of Kubarsi and Yamal.
They showed until now a big personality with 17 years old Kubarsi, so I'm really proud.
And even began to use Raphinha at left wing. All things that are still working successfully under Flick. Thanks to Xavi, Barca won the 2023 La Liga title, their first league title since the 2019 season. It was all looking good, and Xavi extended his contract. It seemed like the perfect story, just like Pep and Zidane, a former player rising to the occasion in his first managerial position. But unfortunately, the next season, everything came crashing down. A string of disappointing results from December to January, which included a 4-1 loss to Real Madrid.
When you don't kill the Real Madrid kill you.
And a 4-2 loss to Bilbao led to increased pressure on Xavi. The play was inconsistent, and getting results was becoming harder and harder.
There were no ideas, a lack of creativity in the final third, a lack of imagination and energy when they most needed.
After a 5-3 loss at home to Villarreal, Barcelona found themselves 10 points behind Real Madrid. Midway through the year, and their title aspirations were already over. Seeing the state of the club, Xavi announced that he was going to step down at the end of the season.
Crec que el club necessita un canvi de dinàmica i sobretot com a culer, pensant en el club, en el bé dels jugadors també, pensant en ells, crec que també s'alliberaran, estaran més tranquils.
I think that's why Xavi thinks that he needs to move to the side, because he can see that the players cannot continue in this situation, because again, if you see the body language, you see the players, they are destroyed mentally and it's difficult to turn over.
Funny enough, after his announcement, Barca started to play better. Maybe it was the team bonding together because they felt bad for Xavi. Maybe it's because they finally remembered how to finish the ball. Who knows what was the cause of it? But at the end of the day, that good form didn't last long. Despite making it to the Champions League quarterfinals and leading in the second leg, Barcelona ended up losing. They also finished second in the league. Now, I've watched that Champions League game back several times, and it's not really one person's fault. Did Araujo make a costly mistake? Absolutely. Even if they score, if he doesn't get sent off, at least Barcelona still have 11 players on the pitch.
Their defensive mistakes are the ones that, in the end, punish them and damage their chances.
But Xavi also lost his head. It's surprising that someone who was so composed as a player so quickly loses his cool as a manager.
Barcelona need to go in a different direction, and he needs to do his own thing. Maybe away from Barcelona, take a break, and that'll be better for him.
When you are coaching a young team, you can't make your emotions that visible. It impacts the players on the pitch. It makes them think emotionally as well. This is one thing that Flick is fantastic at. He's always composed. Whether the team is winning 7-0 or they're down 2 goals, his stoic nature doesn't change. The angriest I've seen Flick was when Ter Stegen made that mistake in the Champions League, and all Flick ended up doing was grabbing his water bottle just a little tighter. It's not like it was just one game either. Xavi lost his head all the time. The amount of times he was sent off or got a silly yellow card for complaining. I'm not saying he was wrong. There was a lot of games where Barcelona were truly getting rigged. But when you're the manager, you have to be composed. You have to be confident in the team. You can't just be wearing your emotion on your sleeve like that. Then tactically, Xavi shouldn't have taken Yamal off. It took away one of the few attacking threats that Barca had and basically allowed Nuno Mendes to get up the pitch as much as he wanted. His comments regarding Barcelona's financial situation also didn't help. Listen, again, he wasn't wrong. Barcelona are doing well now, but they're doing well despite their financial limitations rather than because of it.
Because, as you say, quite simply, he was too honest, really, in this press conference, being realistic, I think, and not really saying anything that we hadn't heard before.
But you just don't make those comments publicly as the manager. You see, with Flick, even with all the injuries, his mentality is the same. He wants to win every single game. No excuses, no nonsense. Regardless, though, Xavi did a lot for the club. I mean, I'm glad I don't have to see him wearing these sort of leggings at the games, but he did really well. He walked so that Flick could run. He brought Barca a league title in a time where it seemed that the club was on a downward track. The way he was relieved of his duties wasn't bad faith, but an upgrade was needed. At times, it was obvious that Barca's team was tactically limited, playing too slow and not direct enough, which made it very easy to park the bus against. Well, who better to fix these issues than Hansi Flick? Other than Pep Guardiola, Flick is the only manager to win a sextuple. His stint with the German national team has made people forget just how dominant he was as Bayern's manager. He was also the assistant manager under Joachim Löw when Germany won the World Cup. What he did in 2020, most managers can't even dream of it. He led Bayern Munich to achieve the continental treble by winning the Bundesliga, DFB Pokal, and the Champions League, marking the club's second such accomplishment. For these achievements, he was honored as the German Football Manager of the Year by Kicker magazine and received the UEFA Men's Coach of the Year award. The next season, under Flick, Bayern clinched the 2020 UEFA Super Cup against Sevilla and achieved their first ever sextuple by winning the Club World Cup in February of 2021, defeating Tigres. When you see a resume like that, it doesn't come as a surprise that Flick's Barca side plays much better than Xavi's. The first thing that Flick improved was the team's mentality. Despite having so many key players injured, he never makes any excuses. You can see it in his body language and his interviews. He is never satisfied. When Barca was winning 7-0, he was pushing the team to keep scoring to make it 8. Unlike Xavi, who publicly declared the team isn't good enough, Flick made it clear that he will work with what he has and that the squad is capable of fighting for all of the trophies. It might just seem like it's words, but language matters a lot when you're managing a squad. It shows belief from the manager, and that belief is transferred over to the players. It's also evident in Barca's style. The team doesn't stop running from the first to the last minute of the match.
They seem to keep going and going, to keep the intensity, the verticality, the counter-pressing, all of that through the whole game.
It's actually very impressive how quickly the players have bought into Flick's system. Usually it takes some time for a manager's philosophy to really settle in with the players, dominating everyone on their path. Barca were literally scoring for fun against some of the ugliest low blocks you'll ever see. Flick's style of play is direct and fast. Defensively, they press teams as soon as there's an opportunity. Whether it's right after they lose possession or when the other team is playing out from the back, this Barca team will hound you for the ball. Attacking wise, we haven't seen a Barca team score goals like this since 2015. Unlike Xavi's 4-3-3 with a single pivot, Flick prefers the 4-2-3-1. Two midfielders next to each other rather than a sole pivot. For Xavi, the 4-3-3 worked when Busquets was still in the squad. When you have the greatest center defensive mid of all time, it makes the system a lot easier. But when he left, there was no like-for-like replacement. There still hasn't been a replacement. It's just in Flick's system in the double pivot, he just requires his midfielders to be able to do a little bit of everything. Initially, the partnership of Pedri and Bernal were working perfectly. Pedri had the freedom to get forward, while Bernal was tasked with a bit more of the defensive duties. Bernal's injury made the situation more complicated, but Flick had full faith in Casado. The 21-year-old is perfect for the system. He is good on the ball, high footballing IQ like all La Masia graduates, but he's also a workhorse off the ball. One of those players that presses for 90 minutes. Then in the center attacking mid position, Olmo was the best. Unfortunately, Olmo's injury shouldn't be surprising to anyone that has followed the Spaniard. Talent has never been the issue with him, but rather health. But again, Flick made no excuses. he just adapted. Raphinha, by the way, has been unbelievable. I mean, he was pretty good for Xavi too. He got 10 goals and 13 assists in a very inconsistent Barca side while dealing with multiple injuries. In fact, it was really Xavi that discovered Raphinha's best position is on the left wing. That form has continued under Flick. Combine his ability on the ball with a fantastic work rate, and the Brazilian was custom made for Flick. Very deserving of the captain's armband. This guy bleeds Blaugrana. Another player that Xavi had experimented with was Kounde at right back. Kounde is phenomenal defensively, and Flick has continued to play him in that role. Xavi had transitioned Kubarsi into the first team, and Flick is still using him as his talent is obvious. There are very few ball-playing center backs like him to begin with, let alone guys that are that young. Attacking players always get more hype because they're more exciting, but what Kubarsi is doing at such a young age is the sign of a generational center back. It's a position where usually players get better as they age, and this kid is already this good this early. Yamal was also good under Xavi, but has hit another level under Flick. Lewandowski being rejuvenated shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone.
Hansi Flick knows you very well. You know him very well.
Lua's best ever season came while playing under Flick. Flick has Lua playing exactly where he needs to be, in and around the box. You can enjoy Flickball while realizing that Xavi was vital to Barcelona's journey. He brought them out of some dark times, but unfortunately hit a ceiling. So a more elite manager was needed to take Barca to the next level. Imagine what this team is capable of when Flick has everyone back healthy. One player who has improved tremendously under Flick is Lamine Yamal. I didn't go into too much detail on him in this video because I've made a separate video outlining the Spaniard's journey to the top. To check it out, you have to go right here.